Hey everyone, Dan McKenzie here with the McKenzie Law Firm. We are an estate planning, estate administration, and small business counsel law firm in the Denver, Colorado area. And thought I'd make a video today about trust planning and asset protection, and why would you want an irrevocable trust. If you're doing research into trusts online, what you're probably encountering is a lot of information about revocable living trusts. And lots of people do have revocable living trusts. It's certainly, we do a lot of those, several every week. And a lot of clients benefit from them, see some value in them. It does not, one message from the estate planning community is, trust planning is not necessarily for the rich and famous alone. It can have a lot of value for a lot of people. But a question we get a lot when we're talking to clients about revocable living trusts is, will putting these assets, putting my stuff into this trust, protect me from lawsuits? Will it help me avoid taxes? And the answer to both those questions really is no. That is really not the purpose of a revocable living trust. Revocable living trusts are about setting up a way for someone in your life that you choose to take over your affairs without the need for any court process. So it's typically probate, right? So if you pass away, you've set up this trust for the purpose of allowing somebody to step in, manage the affairs, not go through probate, because all your stuff's in this trust, which is still alive and well, regardless of whether you are not. And it also has value in incapacity situations where that can also be a probate process. People think of probate, they think that happens when people pass away. It's really any situation where you can't manage your affairs for the long term. If you need a conservator or a guardian, and trusts can kind of play a role in that too. But what can you do if you are interested in trying to actually get assets out of your name for asset protection purposes? And there are trusts where you can do that, but they are irrevocable trusts. As you can imagine, if the IRS is going to give you tax breaks, if the U.S. court system is going to allow you to separate yourself from assets and tell people who you may have harmed or injured that you can't use this money over here to pay them because it's in some sort of entity that you created, there's got to be some sort of commitment there. I am always telling clients, look, you do not want to live in a society where people can create their own trust, take their own assets, put them in that trust, reserve the right to change that trust or revoke it at any time. They're the ones running the trust. They're the ones benefiting from the trust. And then if they go out there and do something egregious, kill a family while texting and driving drunk, right? The worst situation you can think of. Imagine that society where that person could say, sorry, I know I just killed this family. I don't have any money to pay the damages that I caused because all of my stuff's in this trust that I run, that I created, that I can change, that no one else is involved in. That would be terrible for all of us. So for kind of obvious reasons, we can't allow that, right? Again, that trust is just for probate avoidance. So there are trusts, though, where you really can do that, but they're going to take some commitment. You really got to put them into something that is irrevocable. That means you're not going to change it. And usually, in a lot of circumstances, you're not going to be the one running that trust. That's the trustee. The person who runs the trust is a trustee. If you're putting assets in there and you're trying to, claim to people that it's not your stuff anymore, somebody else probably has to run that. There are some options in some states out there. If you look up domestic asset protection trust, for example, you'll see that there are actually potentially ways to actually self-settle a trust that you're the beneficiary of, so you're still getting these assets. But there are a lot of rules around those. They're pretty complicated. Like I say, they're limited to certain states. You can set them up even if you don't live in those states, but you got to use those states' laws, and there's certain ways you got to, actually potentially move assets into financial institutions in those states and all kinds of stuff. So, but there's other kinds of trusts. You'll run into things like intentionally defective grantor trust, for example. That's a trust that you can set up where you're continuing to pay the income taxes on assets in those trusts if they're spitting off income, but you potentially get those assets out of your estate for estate tax purposes. There's something called spousal lifetime access trusts where you're actually giving assets to your spouse. And again, there's lots of rules around these, and the purpose of a SLAT is to, again, get assets out of your estate potentially, use up your gift tax exemption, and then allow for growth to continue on. So if the asset continues to grow in value, it's not in your estate and won't be counted as part of your estate when you pass away if you have an estate tax issue. There's charitable trusts. There's offshore trusts, there's all kinds of trusts, but the common thread between all of these is, again, it has to be irrevocable. If you're gonna go out there and, again, separate, get rid of tax liability or get rid of assets for asset protection purposes. If you can just take it all back and undo it, if it turns out not to be an issue, you don't have the tax issue, whatever. Like, again, that would be crazy. It'd be kind of a heads you win, tails I lose type of situation for the IRS. Like, I'm going to do this, and then if I have a tax problem, I'll keep it out there. If I don't have a tax problem, I'll just suck it right back and not, pay any consequences. Like, no. So that is why you might set up irrevocable trusts instead of a revocable living trust. Irrevocable trusts, like I said, revocable trusts have applications for a lot of people, even people who don't probably think of themselves as being particularly wealthy. Irrevocable trusts, that usually does take, again, because you're getting assets out of your estate, some level of wealth where it's like, I can put some stuff in this trust that really I am giving up control, and I potentially don't need it. It's not gonna have any detriment on my day-to-day life if I put this asset out in this trust and don't really have control over it anymore. So there needs to be some. It's a little bit more selective. The clients who can benefit from these kinds of trusts, but not as much as you would think. There are really a lot of people, we all have issues with asset protection. Again, that's not just in the realm of the rich and famous. Like, you can have, we all have, the risk of divorce. We all have the risk of medical bills. We all have the risk of just getting in a relationship with the wrong person, business-wise or whatever else. We're all probably in various contracts that we might want to get out of. Like, there's just a lot of day-to-day things where we all have, potential asset protection issues. And so it's actually more applicable to more people than you might expect. But these kinds of trusts they're a big commitment. When we're drafting them, we're taking a lot more time to do it. We're going over, with a fine-tooth comb, very closely, because, again, we do usually put some mechanisms in there to adjust to factors down the road we might have not have expected. But obviously, it's a bigger commitment. That's the whole point. And it just takes a lot more knowledge about the tax laws. And again, what you can do as far as asset protection goes, this is not something you can just go on the internet, fill out a form, and you have your trust, and if you screwed it up, no harm done. That's not really true of revocable trust planning either, but it is revocable, and if you screw something up, God willing, you'll have some time to fix it and address any issues. So irrevocable trust planning definitely requires a experienced counsel to help you with. So do not try and do that on your own by any means. So if you'd like to talk with us further about that, happy to have that conversation. Again, I'm Dan McKenzie. We are the McKenzie Law Firm. Our phone number is 303-578-2745. We're in the Denver, Colorado area. Our website is themckenziefirm.com. And I appreciate you watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Thanks.